Moving a hoop house may seem like a nightmare, but it doesn't have to be. Here's 9 considerations to do it right. And if you stick with us to the end of this short video, we'll give you an Easter egg to really help you understand what it takes to move a hoop house from one location to another. Research manuals or create your own. Before considering buying anybody else's hoop house to move to your own property, go ahead and download as many hoop house manuals as you can. Bonus points if the person that's selling you the hoop house knows where they bought it from or even has the original manual, but if not, they're all pretty much the same. Once you have that down, go ahead and consider making your own manual. As you're disassembling somebody's hoop house, take as many pictures as you can, make as many notes as you can, go ahead and put some painter's tape on the individual parts so you know where they go. This is your job, so go ahead and make it your own process that makes sense to you. Having as many pictures on your phone, as many angles as you can get, is going to serve as your own instruction manual. If you get to the place and they already have it disassembled, you're kind of SOL, but because you've reviewed a bunch of other manuals, you should be able to at least put the parts together pretty close. Number 2, reassembly and replacing parts. As you start putting the hoop house together, consider that some of the parts are not going to be able to be reused, especially the greenhouse plastic. More likely than not, it's going to be trimmed out in which you can't put it back tight enough. Or number 2, you don't know the age of it and it may be proven ineffective anyway. Things like ventilation fans, any electrical components, tears in insect screens, maybe some bad shade cloth or some torn shade cloth. All just consider that you've already saved money on the metal part of things. Go ahead and replace those so you don't have to worry about it in the next few years. Number 3, labor to disassemble, move, and reassemble the hoop house. For a lot of people, this is the first time they've ever done that, and it's really hard to judge what your skill set may be versus what the actual project may require you to do, especially when you're taking stuff apart that somebody else built and they may have cross-threaded some bolts or some screws. Maybe some of the lumber is splintering and awkward, maybe you have to cut that down. And then once you get it on the trailer, maybe you don't drive a trailer every day and it's gonna take you a little bit longer. Don't rush yourself, take your time, do it right, don't get in a panic. If you need additional resources, our YouTube channel is packed with tons of videos on every single component and part and process of the greenhouse build process. Pro tip I have for you is anybody that's going to help you, give them the same resources that you just researched, give them the instruction manuals, get their take, get their input. Everybody sees things a little bit different, but go ahead and do this as a team, but talk about it beforehand. Number 4 is consider the equipment that you may need. If you're on somebody else's farm taking something down, consider that you may not want to use their tools, they may not be available, they may not be there, you don't want to go rummaging around somebody else's shop. You need to be self-contained. So whether that's a ladder, a step stool, perhaps even a lift if it's a really big structure, any power tools, anything like that, you need to have the ability to cut metal, unscrew something with a drill, have a set of ratchets and something to work tall, and maybe even a cart or two to take it to the trailer. So the truck and trailer, maybe you don't have that, a U-Haul van is going to work. You're going to have to move this stuff somehow, and think about that before you commit to purchasing something so huge. Number 5, consider the structural integrity of the hoop house. A lot of times the specialty connectors like the cross connectors, any bracing components, anything that's connecting 2 pieces of metal has been moving around for a lot of years. Sometimes during the disassembly, the spring steel may get out of spec, and it may not be a good idea to use some of the things that really build up the strength of the hoop house. So allow that in your budget. You may even consider just replacing all of the hardware, which is really what I would hope that you would do, and that's anything from the store, screws, nuts, bolts, anything that has had a life outside and in a wet, humid environment like a hoop house may be a good idea to just replace new and fresh so you don't have to worry about it. You don't have to worry about sorting a bunch of hardware into buckets and then transporting them and making sure those all come back right. I guarantee you half of them are going to be unusable anyway. Just consider that you're buying the hoops and some of the structural components of the hoop house, and the putting together and the connecting may be an additional line item in your budget. Number 6, go into this knowing that you're always going to need an additional budget. A used hoop house may seem like a great deal whenever you're just searching on Facebook, but consider the plastic, any of the other components, especially some of the high wear items like shade cloth, landscape fabric, especially the drip line. Some of these components are going to come with the hoop house and sometimes they may not. So always consider that additional spring wire, aluminum lock channel, again, the hardware, the cross connectors, but especially the plastic is all going to be an additional line item on that budget. Also consider the fuel, the rental, hiring people, probably replacing a ground post or 2. All of these things add up real quick, and it may just be better to get the whole hoop house delivered in one kit brand new. Number 7, consider the cost of transportation. If you already have a truck, you already have a trailer, consider yourself lucky, but a lot of people just starting out, they may not have that. Consider moving a moving van or a moving truck, something like that, that's big enough to get your biggest components into, but also consider the mileage it's going to take, the toll roads, maybe you're having to rent something for more than a couple of days, the gasoline, and if this is your first time driving a truck or trailer, please consider all 4 corners or all 8 corners if you have a truck and trailer, that if you haven't done that, you're on somebody else's property. If you damage it, you're gonna have to replace that and your insurance is probably not going to cover it. So please, please be careful. Maybe if this is your first time, practice in a big parking lot for a minute before you just show up and start monster trucking all over somebody's farm. Number 8, consider the overall condition of the hoop house. If you show up and the plastic is bunk like this, don't worry about it. You're gonna replace the plastic anyway. If you're buying this sight unseen, try to get that farmer to send you as many pictures as possible. And I would specify, can you give me all around the baseboard? Can you give me the doors? Can you give me high wear areas like the door frame and items like that? Especially the ground where the wood is going to rot. You may have some rust or holes or dings or bumps in the hoop house itself, which is either going to be a structural integrity issue. It may be hard to remove if 2 pieces of metal are supposed to come together, but they're bent. That may be a lost cause. Again, the hardware is likely to be a lost cause, but if you're going to have to replace all the baseboards, you need to build that into the budget. And you need to be aware that somehow that has to get to your farm too, and that's going to be an additional cost. So please make sure that you consider all the high wear items, especially if it's up against the ground. Number 9, consider the size of what you're fixing to get. It's really easy to underestimate the size of something. If you're in a small property and you're buying a big hoop house, it's great if you can at least mark it out. Like if you're buying a 30 by 50 or a 30 by 60, mark that on your property to make sure you even have the size for it. Make sure that the trees are not going to get in the way, make sure power lines are not going to get in the way, consider the height of it. Also, use that to determine what the size of the truck is going to be, maybe the number of people you're going to have, and again, the height is going to help you determine, are you going to need a ladder, rent some scaffolding, or rent a lift? And while you're hopefully on property, before you make the transaction and you're assessing the structure with your own eyes, go ahead and throw a rope over and measure the hoop house plastic. And if you do commit, go ahead and get that plastic on the way so you don't have to wait on it. If you need more help measuring hoop house plastic, there is a link in this video on how to do that very simply, or you can call our customer service line and they can send you a link or walk you through it. At Bootstrap Farmer, it's really hard for me to take all the information that's in my brain and give you to you in these nice little tiny videos that basically is just garden entertainment for some folks. But I wanted to make a video in which if my own daughter asked me for advice, this gentle dad advice that I would give her if she was considering moving a hoop house. But in order to do that, I need a little bit more time. So if you are here specifically because you're looking at buying a hoop house or needing to move one, I have an 18-minute video. It's down in the description below. It's going to walk you through all the considerations I really want you to think about to evaluate, is moving a hoop house within your budget, within your physical capabilities, and a few pointers on how I would do it and how I would want my own daughter to do it. So check that out if you like, leave a comment. I'm sure we left out a lot of tips on this because we didn't have a lot of time. Leave those in the descriptions below to help out your fellow farmers. We'll see you in the next one.